Behind the Scam, the show dedicated to social engineering at the bar and on the street. Howdy, I'm Brian Brushwood, and our first question comes from this guy who says, Brian, the rogue's ring looks completely badass, but how are we supposed to know what the hieroglyphs actually mean? And the answer is by watching this video, which I'm making right now. For those of you guys who don't know, we're trying a new experiment over at Scam Stuff called the rogue's ring. Now, this is first and foremost a marker of who is the hardest of hardcore badass people in all of the Scam School audience. Let me make this very, very clear. If I ever see you in person, in real life, and you are wearing one of the rogue's ring, I owe you a drink immediately for the rest of my life, forever. Every single one of these comes with one free drink courtesy of yours truly. Mainly that's because I owe so much to you guys. Everything we're doing, everything we've done with Scam School, everything we're doing with Scam Stuff, all of this is made possible by you. So it would be kind of fun to have sort of a golden ticket to redeem a free drink on me anytime you run into me. But that's not why you should buy it. You should buy it because these are clever escape rings. The premium version of the Rogue rings is a titanium escape ring. There's a groove cut inside with a shim that can be used to escape from police-issued handcuffs with the serrated edge so that you can actually saw your way out of zip ties if you're ever put into zip ties. They're made of titanium. If you don't know, titanium is a relatively rare metal. In fact, I believe, could be wrong on this, but I believe most titanium is recycled from aircraft. So there's a good chance that your rogue's ring is made out of the recycled remains of like a MiG fighter jet or something. But the point is, you keep that on you at all times, and then when you need it, you can bust out that shim in order to escape from police-issued handcuffs or saw your way out of a zip tie. But that is also not why you should buy it. You should buy it because inscribed around both versions of the Rogue's Ring are a bunch of hieroglyphs that reference over 24 different scams that you can pull anytime, anywhere. These are crib notes for some of the things that are more difficult to remember because you got to remember like a whole bunch of numbers or exact configuration of a tic-tac-toe. That way you've got a cheat sheet and you're able to perform these anytime, anywhere. So I'm going to take you through the hieroglyphs. We're going to have links to all of the different episodes that are referenced on the ring so that you can go through and make sure you know all these scams before you go out and rock it in public. Remember, there are two versions. The titanium one is the one that comes with the escape shim, and the stainless steel one is significantly cheaper and just has the hieroglyphs around it. However, either of those will get you a free drink if you ever run into me in person. First hieroglyph you're going to see looks like a jack-o'-lantern grin with some smoke coming out of it. That is a combination of two effects. Those are your two best openers. I use one to get things started with the human chimney. And to be honest, I'll usually teach the human chimney because I think that's one of the few effects that actually is more impressive when you do it for yourself than when you watch somebody else do it, followed up with the jack-o'-lantern. Now, remember what we said in the previous episode of Scam School, once is a trick, twice is a lesson, so I usually do the one and then follow it up with the other, so you have two highly visual openings to get things started right off at the beginning. Second of all, you'll notice that the next hieroglyph has two symbols on it. One looks like a electric bolt with a trigger on it. The other, there's a match, and then there's another electric bolt. That's two effects. One is the static shot. That's the one where you rub your cheeks and then magically shoot a piece of paper that falls over. And then the static charge match, I think, is actually one of the most underrated Scam School effects. It's big, it's visual, it pops. You get a moment of sincere anticipation when you build up that static electricity, and a big surprise when their match actually leaps up and forward. Next up, you'll see a hieroglyph that looks like a sad man with a dot on his head. That is the bang your head scam. That's the one where you stick the quarter on their forehead, or actually you start by doing it to yourself. Stick a quarter to your forehead, bang your head on the table, show that you can't bang it off very easily. Then you wrap your fingernails around it, push it against their head so that when you pull it away, it'll feel like it's still on their forehead. They're going to start beating themselves silly trying to get the quarter off of their forehead. You're going to be laughing your ass all the way to a free beer. Although actually in that case, you're going to owe them a beer. Next up is one of the easiest closers that you're ever going to do. It's the 4 quarters scam. You'll see the hieroglyph on this one references the setup for this one. You set up 4 quarters in a diamond. Remember, the rules are you can only move 1 quarter at a time, no picking up, no pushing, and every time you move a quarter, when you let go, it has to be touching 2 other quarters. This one you will have to remember how to do it, but it's really fairly straightforward. Once you've solved this one, it should be simple for you to do. We decided it was more important to show the setup for this scam to remind you of it than the payoff for it necessarily. Next up, you'll see there's a hieroglyph that looks like a large pint glass and a small shot glass, 2 dots and an X. And what this one is, this is the race, which is one of the early episodes. You'll have a link Probably right. Wait for it. Right here. That's where the link is. No, wait. Yes. No, right here. And basically the setup is you could do it with 2 drinks or 3 drinks, but you set out a bunch of pints versus a bunch of shots, and it's a race between 2 people, between somebody to drink 2 pints before they could drink 2 shots. So, of course, there's got to be a couple of rules. First of all, you can't touch each other. You can't touch each other's glasses, otherwise you could knock off a glass. One hand only, no double fisting, and you do need a little bit of a head start. You're going to drink the entire first pint and set it down, but it's still... You got a whole pint up against their 2 little itty bitty shots, right? The game begins as soon as your empty glass hits the table. Now you take as long as you want to drink it, then you flip it upside down and you set it over their shot, or at least one of their shots. Because you set up the rule that you can't touch each other's glasses and the game begins once it touches the table, there's no way for him to access his second shot. You can take as long as you want to win the freaking game. That's a tremendous closer. Very, very good. Another fun tweener here. You'll see that there's what looks like the Brian Brushwood logo, the BB logo back to back. We did that partly just to remind you who your friend is who's getting you all these free drinks and who is going to buy you a drink if he ever sees you wearing one of these rings. But mainly this one is to represent the mirror, which was, again, one of the earliest episodes we did. It's a you do as I do plot where they're supposed to follow along with the mirror. You do a bunch of moves. Finally, you take a drink, they take a drink, you do some more moves, but then you lift back up your drink, you spit out your drink, but they can't because they've swallowed, and then you win yourself a free drink. Next up, we've got, this is the configuration for the Kung Fu match. One of the nastiest pranks we've ever done in the history of Scam School. You'll see you set it up in that little kind of football field goal position, and you set it up to karate chop down, and this is one that's going to burn the hell out of them. It's funny every time, but every time, if they're drunk enough, they're going to get like 2nd-degree burns. So use at your own risk. I don't recommend you do any of these. All of these are for informational purposes only. Next up, you're going to find 3 dots, all kind of in a weird configuration. 2 of them together, 1 slightly off to the side. We just wanted to jog your memory on this one. This is the 3 caps, 1 beverage. The setup for this begins with 3 bottle caps or 3 quarters, all side by side in a row. And the rules are you can touch and move one of them. You can touch one but can't move it. The other one can move, but you can't touch it. And the object is to get coin number 1 between coins 2 and 3. And usually within those rules, nobody's able to figure it out. The answer is if you push down, because remember you could touch coin number 2, and then use coin number 1 to whack coin number 2, it'll take that force, run it right through the quarter, send coin number 3 shooting right off to the side as is represented in the hieroglyph, and you'll be able to stick coin number 1 right in between the 2. Next up is sort of 3 images in one. It's what's depicted here is the heist 1, which is 2 pint glasses with a treasure in one of the pint glasses and a matchstick between the 2. And the matchstick is meant to represent an alarm system, so they have to be able to heist-like pull out the treasure from underneath the second pint glass without causing that match to fall off at all and trigger the alarm. Now, in the case for the heist, the answer is if you ignite that wooden match up against the pint glass, it'll flash, and when it does, it'll kind of fuse to the pint glass. So you can lift up the pint glass, remove the treasure, and get away scot-free, leaving everything exactly the way you saw it, because that matchstick is fused to the pint glass. Once you've done this one, and once you've started to think about it, remember, we've done 3 heist episodes. The second one involved a nickel inside of a glass with a piece of match on top of it, wooden match on top of it, and you use static electricity in order to disable the alarm system on that one. And we also did the one where there was a match box. We had a couple of sentinels, as we called them, with a alarm system on a nickel or a quarter, and you lit that match in order to get the match to rise so that you could steal away the treasure on that one. So really, this one hieroglyph, if you remember all the heist episodes, you should be able to do 3 episodes out of just that one image to jog your memory. This next one's a huge one because one of the best tricks we've ever done has been Martin Gardner's tic-tac-toe prediction. And unfortunately, I just really feel like not enough people remember the configuration for this one in order to pull it off. I've said before that I always think of this as OXO, OX, ZOX. to remind me of the OXO, OXX, XOX on here. But if you don't remember it, if you're having a hard time, the good news is it's right there on the ring. So all you have to do is write that down on a prediction on a piece of paper. You can use the ring itself for your prediction. I think that might feel a little bit cheeky, though. A little. I don't know. It just feels too magic-y for me, because then once you draw attention to the ring, people are like, what are all these other things on the ring? And then you have to confess that these are your actual crib notes. So instead, write this down as a prediction. Play a game of tic-tac-toe. You got to play to win. You'll play as X, they'll play as O. And you want to follow the rules as we talked. Just take X in the middle and then follow the rules as we taught in the episode. And you'll always end up with some variation of exactly this prediction. Next up, we've got a depiction of a die on some leaves. This is to represent petals around the rose. Petal around the rose, one of the best, most infuriating puzzles we've ever had on Scam School. It's called The Trick That Stumped Bill Gates on Scam School, or at least the YouTube version of it on there. Again, the rules on that one, I'm not even going to say, because either you're a potentate of the rose or you're a faker like me, and I'm a faker. So watch that episode. You'll remember what to do on that one. But just looking at that die should remind you of how it's done. Next up, you're going to see a whole bunch of numbers, 357, 246, 145, and even. Those are references to Advanced Nim. Advanced Nim is a game that is simultaneously totally fair, but also totally unbeatable, because you're going to try to hit these pole positions. These pole positions are sets of numbers where no matter what, you know that you can continue to hit pole positions all the way up to the point where you win. So that'll remind you of how to do that. Next image, you're going to see two shot glasses above each other, one dark, the one below it light. This is whiskey versus water. Remember, you start off with a shot of whiskey, a shot of water. You cover it up with a driver's license or some kind of thin laminated card. You get the two to swap places. And again, watch the episode for the proper way to set this up as an actual challenge. Next up, you're going to see a line with a couple of, looks like fists like this. This is to remind you of the beer cuffs, the thumb cuffs episode, where you ditch your friends at the bar by locking them in. Next one is a very, very clever way to remind you of what I believe is the most difficult of all of the Scam School tricks to remember. You'll see the 11-cent slide is so good and so confusing that we ourselves couldn't remember the right way to do it when it came time to tape the episode. We had to find the note card that had the notes on there, but we used the mnemonic over, half over, swap obvious in order to reference the moves that you should do, moving a dime and a penny at a time in a block, all in a line. And so to represent this, you'll notice in the hieroglyph, there's a full arc for over, another full arc for over. There's half of an arc for half over. Then there's a reverse arc for swap, and then an O for obvious. As long as you do that, just remember you're going to take two, go over. You're going to take two, go over. You're going to take two from the middle, half over, right? Put it half over, and now in that gap, you're going to swap those last two, and then the last move will be obvious. Trust me, all of this will make sense when you actually watch that episode, and I have found this to be an incredibly helpful visual reminder moving forward. Next up, we've got easily one of the best perceptual tricks I've ever encountered, the circumference versus height. In a very elegant, very simple hieroglyph, you can see that you got a pint glass, and there's kind of an arrow going up and down. Next up, you've got the graphic that just says 1 + 1 + 1 + 1. This is for the equation, and it's a little bit different because we're showing you the answer, not the setup. The setup is you're going to take matches or toothpicks, and you're going to lay out 1 + 2. That's 1 stick plus 2 sticks plus 3 sticks equals 4, which is wrong. And the challenge is to move exactly one match and end up with something that's correct. And so what you do, of course, is you take one of the 2 sticks in the 2, you lay it across one of the sticks in the 3 to change it to 1 + 1 + 1 + 1. So, and of course, once you're doing that, there's a couple of simpler, easier to remember matchstick puzzles that you should be able to go from there. The next two images go together. You'll see that the first one looks like a bunch of bricks. That is the setup for the 5 rooms puzzle, the one where you're a ghost and you have to go through every single wall exactly once. This is not possible. If you want to, you can use it as a way to just annoy someone and occupy their time, or you can use it as we did with a challenge where you give 2 puzzles simultaneously, one of them real, one of them undoable, and that'll be the undoable one. Next up, underneath it, you'll see the other half of that, which is a bunch of numbers, 3, 5, 7, 1, 8, 2, 4, 6. What you do, we decided to show you the numbers because that's what matters for the answers. But to set up the challenge for this, you're going to draw a grid of boxes. So you got kind of a 2x3 vertical set of boxes, and then you're going to set wings on each side, one box on each side. And their challenge is to fill it in with the numbers 1 through 8 in such a way that no number is next to the next highest or next lowest numbers. So 1 is nowhere near 2, 2 is nowhere near 3. And keep in mind, the hardest part is not even the corners count. You can't even have these catty corner from each other. Every single number consecutively needs to be isolated and far away from the other ones that it belongs with. It's tougher than you think, and a lot of people have a hard time with that one. So now you've got the solution for that one, which I totally forgot, and I did the dang episode. Underneath it, you're going to see kind of a domino that says 1 and 2, and there'll be hints of what's on the side. This is meant to reference the episode where we did how to predict the future using dominoes. Anytime you got a full set of dominoes, just cop out one of those dominoes, put it in your pocket. Set up the challenge that they could take the dominoes in any order they want and just start setting them in a giant chain. As long as each one links to the one next to it, you got a 2 next to a 2 or 6 next to a 6 and so on. They could do whatever order they want, and they're going to end up with 2 at the end of the chain. And then you're going to be able to reveal your prediction, which you wrote down before, that exactly matches which 2 were at the end of the chain. And the answer on that one, of course, is that all of these go in a circle. If you had a complete set of dominoes, they would make a complete circle. So by stealing out one, you determine which are the ones that are going to be at the end. This next symbol looks a little bit like the Van Halen logo, which I thought Brant did a really good job with. The setup, though, if you look at it as Roman numerals, this is a match puzzle. It's VII equals I. So that is wrong. So in Roman numerals, that would be 7 equals 1. But by moving exactly one match or toothpick, you can make it true. And the answer on this one, again, once you've seen the setup or once you know the answer, it's very easy to remember. The answer is if you move that second I and set it on top horizontally, you end up with the square root of 1 equals 1, which is totally true. And then finally, we got a math puzzle thrown in there. You'll see it says 5 plus 5 plus 5 over 545. This is the setup and the answer. The actual setup should read 5 plus 5 plus 5 equals 550, which of course is wrong. The challenge is add one line, just one line with the stroke of the pen, and make that a true equation. And the way you do is by putting a stroke on the plus between the first 2 5s, and it turns into 545 plus 5 equals 550 is correct. So I believe all told, if you remember all of those, I think we're up to like 27 different scams that are all referenced on here. And even more if you're able to remember the matchstick puzzles that come after the initial setup. Once you start doing a matchstick puzzle, I think you'll remember several more of these. But look, here's the important part is whatever questions you guys have about this, whatever suggestions, I want to hear about it. So hit me up directly. You can write me at brian@schwood.com or follow me on social media. That's twitter.com/Schwood, facebook.com/Schwood, google.com/plushwood. And I'll see you guys next time. That's hopefully I'll see you with a rogue's ring, and then I'll have to buy you a drink, and I'll be all like, why did I do this again? This is a terrible idea. What was I thinking? The hardest core of the Scam Stool audience, because I said stool, Scam Stool. That's where you take a poop and then someone steals it.